Good afternoon. This is your Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing for Sunday, September 1st. It's valid through Friday, September 6th, and I'm Jeff Lewitsky, a lead forecaster here at the Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch. First, let's take a look at the summary for the next 5 days. For winds, we don't have any gales or tropical cyclones expected at this time, so winds less than 34 knots. And swells, no very large swell events are expected, so seas less than 12 feet. However, that being said, there are 3 areas of interest being monitored in the Atlantic Tropical Weather Outlook, which we'll cover. Here's a look at the surface analysis from this morning. In the northwest Gulf of Mexico, we have a broad area of low pressure, producing some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Not much going on in the Caribbean Sea at the surface, however, to the east of the Caribbean, we have a tropical wave approaching the tropical North Atlantic waters, which we'll talk more about, and another tropical wave about to cross 35 west. Otherwise, the Bermuda-Azores High is dominating the Atlantic basin. Here's a look at the latest tropical weather outlook issued at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. There's the 3 areas of interest. The one near the Lesser Antilles is forecast to reach the Lesser Antilles Monday, cross the Eastern Caribbean Sea on Tuesday, and then the Central and Western Caribbean through the latter part of the week when a tropical depression could form. Regardless of development, gusty winds and locally heavy rainfall over portions of the Lesser Antilles is possible on Monday. This tropical wave has a 10% of tropical cyclone formation through 48 hours and a 40% or medium chance through 7 days. In the Northwest Gulf, we have that broad area of low pressure, which is forecast to meander in the Northwest Gulf through Monday night, eventually moving inland on Tuesday. Heavy rains and flash flooding across upper Texas coast and coastal Louisiana will be possible. This broad area of low pressure only has a 10% chance of tropical cyclone formation through 48 hours and 7 days. And then lastly, in the eastern tropical Atlantic, there's another tropical wave currently over western Africa. It is forecast to move off Africa on Monday, and some slow development through the week is possible. This area has 0% chance of tropical cyclone formation through 48 hours and a 20% chance through 7 days. Here's the forecast for winds and waves. First, taking a look at the 24-hour forecast, which is Monday morning. There's that broad area of low pressure still lingering in the Northwest Caribbean. Not expecting big impacts for winds and seas. However, again, we could have some heavy rainfall along the coast of Louisiana and upper Texas with some scattered showers and thunderstorms there. The Caribbean at this time Monday morning is pretty quiet. However, that tropical wave, which we're monitoring in the tropical weather outlook, is approaching the islands there and could bring some gusty winds and heavy rainfall as well. And we could have 20 to 25 knot winds on the northeast side of it and some seas of 8 to 9 feet. There's that tropical wave behind it. However, winds are only 15 knots near it. Going ahead to 48 hours, which is Tuesday morning, that area of low pressure now is just along the coast or moving inland over the Northwest Gulf. The tropical wave has moved into the eastern Caribbean here, with still maybe some winds of 20 to locally 25 knots and some seas of 8 to 9 feet, both north of and south of Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and portions of the northern Leeward Islands. And otherwise in the Atlantic, winds are mainly 15 knots or less, except in the wake of that tropical wave out here, they could be up to 20 knots with some seas of around 8 feet there as well. Here's the 72-hour forecast. Not much change in the Gulf. The tropical wave, we still have some 20 to 25 knot winds now south of Hispaniola, and those slightly elevated seas of 8 to 9 feet on either side of the windward passage there in south of Hispaniola. And in the Atlantic, pretty quiet there, maybe 15, locally 20 knot of wind with the next tropical wave and seas of mainly 8 feet or less. Going to 96 hours, which is Thursday morning, the tropical wave by this point is moving into the western Caribbean, still have 20 to 25 knot winds, now south of Cuba and west of Jamaica, and those elevated seas of 8 to 9 feet possible in its wake. And otherwise in the Gulf, it looks quiet. There's a cold front north of the area off the Carolina coast that will stall out. And then we could have some winds and seas start to move into the area west of 35 with the next tropical wave. And lastly, for Friday morning, your 120-hour forecast, the tropical wave is now approaching the Yucatan Peninsula. Could have 20 to 25 knot winds east of the Yucatan Peninsula. And otherwise, the Gulf, Caribbean, and Atlantic look pretty quiet, except again near 35 west there, we could have some elevated seas of 8 to 10 feet possibly. So in summary, again for winds and swells, no gales or tropical cyclones are expected at this time. However, stay tuned because of those areas in the tropical weather outlook. And swells, no very large swells expected, less than 12 feet. Again, we're still watching those 3 areas in the tropical weather outlook. The next Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing will be issued by 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Thursday, September 5th. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, you can always get the latest forecast at hurricanes.gov/marine and hurricanes.gov for details on systems in the tropical weather outlook.